So, you find yourself wanting to play Bloodborne, huh? Well, my friend, I've got some unfortunate news for you. It's only available on one console that's over a decade old. Well, for the most part. But you find yourself heading towards absolute peak and into the dark streets of Yharnam, meaning that you're gonna need to know what weapons to use and not to know which ones are the best, because who cares? What really matters is that you can aura farm each and every moment possible on screen to maximize peak as much as possible. And that's precisely why I'm here. By the end of this video, you're gonna know what's badass and what's not. So I'll be ranking every right and left hand weapon in the game, with their placements being relative to what kind of weapon they are. So meaning, if you see a gun in S tier, it does not necessarily mean that it's cooler than a trick weapon in A tier. Alright? Got it? Perfect. But what are we waiting around for? We got peak to get to! Ah yes, the humble saw cleaver. The classic poster boy weapon of the game. And for good reason too. It's got a simple design, yet striking and rather intriguing. It's on all the posters for the game, it's on the cover of the game, the loading screen. You always see the hunter with the saw cleaver. But, I mean, look at it. Its compact form with its serrated edges for cutting beasts, and its ability to transform into a much longer, robust, almost, well, cleaver, as the name would imply. And in the game, its representation is fantastic. Its transform animation and its sound for transforming is very satisfying. And it's got a super quick and versatile moveset, meaning that you can be as flashy as you want to be while adapting to any combat circumstance. And very important for a cool factor, it gets a heavy attack combo while it's transformed. Nothing too crazy, but also definitely not boring. It's a classic weapon, it's iconic for a reason, and it's going in B tier. A good way to start us off. Up next we have the Hunter Axe, and it has a very simple idea going for it. It just gets longer. Now, I'm a big fan of axes, and I know I'm sure plenty of you guys are as well, so by the nature of it being an axe, and should you want a long axe, it already gets some cool points just for that. Plus, it very much helps that all of its sound effects are nice and chunky. From your light attacks to your heavy attacks, transformed or untransformed, they all sound good. And of course, who could forget the best move this weapon has, its spin to win. Not only does it have good combat effectiveness, but I mean, come on. You're doing a full 360 with an axe longer than you are? That has got to go for some style points. However, the church may have been happy with this simple design, but considering some of the other stuff we've yet to see, it's a little boring. But with all that in mind, I'm going to give it a humble C tier. It's a little flashy, but nothing too much. And you just wait and see. And of course, finishing off our starting three is the threaded cane. Now, of course, this is very fancy. I mean, look at it. You got a whole pimp cane with a spike on the end? What's not to love about that? It has an awesome concept as well. Its whole thing being that it turns into a whip when you transform it, and then seamlessly being able to turn into, well, almost a thrusting sword, a rapier of sorts, if you will. But I do think that this idea is executed much better and in a much cooler way by another weapon later in the game. So it's definitely going to lose some points for that. And it also has kind of weak sound effects. Understandably, it's nothing big and chunky like the Hunter Axe, but it could still have a bit of extra metallic zing to it, you know? Now don't get me wrong though, beating beasts to death with a pimp cane kinda has aura. But at the same time, compared to even just the other two starting weapons, this one is a little lame. So even though it is pretty cool in concept, I think the execution kind of fell off a little bit. But just wait until later, we will have a good whip weapon. But for now, the cane's going in D tier. Sorry all you pimps out there. Ah yes, the brother of the Saw Cleaver. Widely debated on if it's better or worse than the former. But what doesn't need to be debated is how cool it is. Now of course, it being so similar, it has a very comparable moveset to the Cleaver, and as such, is just as cool in that regard. And really the only difference is that when you transform it, instead of having vertical slices down and horizontal slashes with the Cleaver, it's focusing a lot more on direct forward stabs instead, because of course it's a spear. So, I guess the real question is your preference to do it the normal way or the long way? Either way, I feel like it's only fair to put it up there in B tier with its brother. And starting off our left-handed weapons, we have the Humble Hunter Pistol. It's got a simple and elegant design, and of course, since it's from the church's workshop, it's engraved and quite well made, handcrafted, and its purpose is to be swift. Compared to the other left-handed weapon, the Blunderbuss, it comes out much faster and allows you to parry or just shoot whatever you need to in the streets of Yharnam. And to aid in that swiftness, it needs a sense of style. And as such, it has some pretty cool firing poses. Your basic one is nothing too crazy, but you've got the dodge roll one, which is always really cool. And the backstep one just has an extra feeling of quick crispness to it. It's also got a very good sound effect, made all the better if it's punctuated by that perfect parry sound. Now, as good as this is, it does get absolutely mobbed by another pistol later on. You got some style, kid, but not too much. We'll put you in C for now. And of course, the other choice for your left-handed weapon at the start of the game is the Hunter Blunderbuss. And it's another staple of church hunters, and kind of a poster boy as well, as it shows up in a lot of the promotional material next to the Saw Cleaver. It's got a very stubby, compact frame. It almost looks like a tiny little cannon that you're holding on your arms. It's kind of cool. And as expected for a blunderbuss, it functions as a shotgun, meaning that you can parry multiple enemies at once, technically speaking, or for the most part, it just gives you some leeway to not have to be as accurate with your parries. Now, unfortunately, for a weapon that's a blunderbuss that looks like a cannon, got quite a bit of heft to it, it's got an okay sound effect. It's alright. I've had better at the school cafeteria. And once again, this is another example of a weapon that gets absolutely mogged by another gun later in the game. Even though you got a strong design going for you, you got some weak aspects that let you down a little bit, Hunter Blunderbuss, but you're still alright. You can go in C tier. And next up we have a torch. I mean, come on. It's literally just a stick with some flaming paper on the end. And it doesn't even have any different animations or anything. Its main purpose is, of course, to illuminate dark areas, but you could also just buy a hand lantern in the game, and then that can just hang from your waist while you use the rest of your weapons instead of having to take up your left-handed slot to use this crappy item. Doesn't have any combos, doesn't have any different animations for back steps or dodge rolling. It's literally just a stick on fire. And unless you're a caveman who managed to find his way to the nearest PS4, this is lame. Yeah, no doubt in my mind. That's going straight down to D. And while we're on the same topic, there's the Hunter's Torch as well. And, ooh, yeah, can you guys spot the difference? Because I sure can't. It is literally the exact same as the other torch. The only difference being that for some reason, this one does a bit more damage, meaning that you could kill some things with it, if you really wanted to. Yeah, this lame too. And you know what, since we're on a spree of lame items, here's just a few 2x4s nailed together. The wooden shield looks bad, has no unique function, it just blocks some damage. And in a game where aggressiveness is the key gameplay factor driving you in every single fight, playing passively with a shield and instead of, parrying attacks like you could with most other left-handed weapons, you're severely injuring your ability to not only fight, but to aura farm. Even the game itself thinks this item sucks. But hey, at least you can do this. Peekaboo. Peekaboo. Yeah, get that shit out of my face. It's going in deep. Okay, now on to something pretty unique for a left-handed weapon. We've got the Flamesprayer, aka the watering can of doom. It's got a very unique design. I love this little flip-up thing when you're firing. It just goes whoop, whoop. I love it. I like it a lot. And it's the first left-handed weapon you get that allows you to continue moving while you're firing as it sprays the constant stream of fire. Meaning that when you're going through the streets of Yharnam, you can walk down any beast or enemy hunter and just keep on spraying them. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any cool, unique animations though. You can dodge roll, you can backstep, and it's still just gonna be the same firing animation. But I mean, come on. A one-handed flamethrower coming out of this holy watering can and got the little flip-up thing? I mean, how can you not love the flip-up thing? Now, this thing is pretty neat, and is actually pretty effective against beasts too, so it's got some aura. It's going in B tier. Well, now we're getting to a staple weapon for many hunters out there. The Kirkhammer. And, wait a second, it's not a hammer, it's just a sword. And, well, it is a very nice sword. It's got some really nice engravings befitting of a holy church weapon of the hunters. Well, joke's on you, because the transformation does reveal why it's called the Kirkhammer. Have you ever wanted to hit someone with a cinder block the size of your entire f***ing body? The transformation itself is amazing. It's such a cool idea. I mean, it's a sheath for a sword that's just a massive chunk of stone, and by sheathing the sword and sticking it into place, it turns into a giant f***-off hammer? Come on, that's awesome! Plus, in the transform attack, you literally just grab the hammerhead itself and swing it without the sword, just raw dogging that. That is peak! And, of course, bonus points, it's got a heavy attack transformed combo. And this weapon is tremendously aided by its sound design. It's chunky, it's impactful, and plus the animations being as weighty as they are, I mean, your hunter leaves the ground when they're slamming this thing. That's just how heavy it is. This is a satisfying weapon to use. This weapon is awesome. It's got style, it's got function, it's amazing. But it doesn't quite cross over into A just yet. So, it's gonna be B tier, but that's a high B tier, let me tell you. Next up on the list is the old PvP champion itself, the Rifle Spear. It's pretty unassuming at first. It really does just look like a spear with some band-aids wrapped around it. And its attacks seem the same way too, they're pretty one note. It's just a lot of stabs, not a lot of slashes or fancy moves. It's just thrust attacks forward, all right. However, when you transform it, that's when it starts getting pretty cool. As the blade of the spear kind of comes out and then down and then back in, where it then sits and becomes like a bayonet of sorts. And the whole haft of the spear itself turns into a long firearm. Although, strangely enough, even though it's called a rifle spear, it's a shotgun. And it doesn't even have rifling in the barrel, so I actually have no idea why this is called the rifle spear. But the moveset gets a lot more interesting after you transform it, especially the fully charged heavy attack. Look at that range! The rushdown is awesome, and you can feel pretty confident that nothing is out of range for this. And of course, since it's a gun spear, which is already amazingly cool in and of itself, we all know that when you combine a gun and a melee weapon, rule of cool dictates that it has to be awesome. But this is Bloodborne, which means that it allows you to parry things with the same weapon that you're still attacking with, allowing for a quite aggressive and seamless playstyle where you don't have to alternate between left and right. You've got the whole package all in one thing. Plus, little bonus, the transform attack itself is quick and it's seamless. I love it. This weapon is pretty damn awesome, I'm not gonna lie. And I feel like in terms of PvE, it's a little slept on. So I'm gonna put this in B tier. It's pretty good. Give it a try. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we have a powerhouse coming in. We've got the Stake Driver. This is unique not only in its look, being this massive, chunky machine strapped to your arm with an almost unknown function, but it's also one of the only fist-type weapons in the game. Naturally befitting of the church, and especially the powder kegs who made it, it's a very ornate design with the engravings on the actual spike and all the wooden furniture. It looks fantastic. And pretty much all the untransformed attack animations for this weapon are exactly what you would expect it to do. You got thrusts, you got swipes, you got jabs, stabs, uppercuts, you got the whole spectrum. Now the transformed mode might seem a little unassuming at first. It just looks like the blade was a little tucked in there, giving you a little less range and a speedier, more punch-style moveset. But oh, when you perform a heavy attack, that's when you start seeing its true purpose. You see, the transform primes the weapon to launch, and the heavy attack, well, it shoots that spike forward. Whether it be you're just doing a normal heavy or a running heavy, you shoot that spike forward, giving you an extra bit of kick and a lot more punch when it comes to what you're hitting. Now, of course, nothing, and I mean nothing in this game, melee-wise, comes close to the charged heavy attack when it's transformed. You assume the position, you get your feet on the ground, and you brace yourself for that f***ing falcon punch of an attack. The animation is incredible, and the sound effects only make it even better. It is the single hardest hitting melee attack you can do in the entire game, and it feels rewarding as hell to pull it off. It takes 8 years to actually charge it up, but if you do succeed in hitting something, you will be rewarded with everything here. Plus, just look, after your character recoils from the massive blast, you get a little bit of exhaust venting out from the machine. This is just a beautiful little touch at the end. This thing is without a doubt one of the coolest weapons in the entire game, and one of the coolest weapons FromSoft has ever made, period. Peak S tier. Back to left-handed weapons for a second, we've got something else that's pretty cool. We've got the repeating pistol. Now look at this design. It's gold, it's got the flintlock on the top and the bottom, which gives it a very distinctive silhouette. And look at this, it's got a little wheel on the side. What the hell is this even for? I don't know. But it's cool. But let's step away for a moment. What even is this thing? Well, it's a double-barreled steampunk pistol. Come the f*** on! That's pretty damn cool if you ask me. It's got the same animations as the Hunter pistol, so it's not very unique in that regard. But look closely. After every time you shoot this thing, the barrels spin, implying it's got some kind of weird automatic reload system. Oh, come on! That's awesome! Yeah, for awesome mechanical doohickey thingamabob nonsense, this is going in A tier. And following suit, we have Ludwig's rifle, which similarly has an insane design. It's got that same kind of engraved gold. It even has the wheel too. But look at this thing. I didn't even know what this was the first time I was looking at it. I thought it was like some kind of wagon that I was holding. I don't know, it looks so strange. Now the animations here are actually a little bit different to the Blunderbuss, but definitely not as cool as the pistols. And I must say, the sound on this thing is pretty nice too. It even has this neat little detail where you hear that small little click before the big boom. Well, I never really knew what that was until I looked closer. And then I realized that's the sound of the actual flintlock hammer automatically coming up and then striking down to actually make the gun fire, giving us that second boom. So obviously it's gonna get some cool points for the steampunk automation. And I mean, once again, just look at this thing. It radiates random mechanical nonsense. I love it. Plus, check this out. The barrel on the gun actually folds up and over the top of the gun for compactness. You can see it most clearly when you put it away when you're holding a two-handed weapon, but also whenever you swap back to Ludwig's rifle, the barrel folds out. Although, strangely enough, the animation shows it folding out from the bottom, even though it's folded up at the top. It's a little weird. And of course, as is a theme with this game, much like the rifle spear, this too is not a rifle, it's a shotgun. It also doesn't have rifling down the barrel, so I don't know what FromSoft was on when they were naming these things. But with that all in mind, without a shadow of a doubt, this is going up there in A tier. This thing is cool. I like it a lot. And while we're on the topic of going through Ludwig's attic, we have his Holy Blade. And this is actually really similar to the Kirkhammer, even down to having the same base sword and the same moveset in its untransformed mode. So it's still gonna get that level of cool points. But this time, instead of the sheath being a big concrete brick to hit people with, it's a bigger sword blade. So you can essentially turn your longsword into a greatsword. So if you don't want to be whumping people with the mallet, all you want to be guts players out there, you can finally have your greatsword. And don't get me wrong, I still think it's a really cool idea. I mean, look at it, it's clearly awesome. But at the same time, I think it's a bit less unique and creative than the Kirkhammer, because where that was essentially turning it into a completely different weapon on a whim, this is essentially just turning small sword into big sword. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's a little less interesting in my opinion. So while it is still pretty damn awesome, I'm gonna put it in B tier, because I think it's definitely not crossing over into A just yet. Taking a detour from church weapons, we have the Blade of Mercy. And this is of course the signature weapon of Eileen, of the Hunter of Hunters. This is the perfect example of a very simple concept with an extremely flashy execution. As for the weapon itself, it's really not much of a looker. It's just two curved knives stuck together that you can then break apart. So I would say the animations really do a lot of the heavy lifting here. I mean, look at some of this. When you're doing a lot of these like backstep attacks and roll attacks, you get that little shing and a little like sparkly effect. It's great. It's literally and figuratively flashy. It's also the only weapon in the game that is built around specifically using backsteps and dodge attacks more than just using your normal attacks because of how crazy this moveset is. And something that's really neat about it is that so long as you have enough stamina and the weapon is transformed, all of your attack chains can just continue indefinitely until you run out of stamina. So this is a really good, just flurry weapon. Just rush them down. Hit them with a little bit of... It's definitely neat, don't get me wrong. But like a few other of the weapons we have on the list so far, I think it's an idea that's better executed by something later on in the game. So it's got some pizzazz though, but nothing too special. I'll put it in C tier. So, all these puny knives and shotguns that are actually rifles but not rifles because they're shotguns, and all these pistols, they're just not cutting it for you, huh? You've got bigger beasts to hunt. You've got bigger problems to face. And there's no better way to face your problems than with boom power! You want it, I've got it! You cannot make this up. It's literally just a cannon strapped to your arm. There is no other weapon in the entire game that delivers as much boom power as this one right here. Look at this animation. Look at how heavy that recoil is. As it should. You're shooting out an explosive piece of artillery that's about half the size of your body. The sound on this thing is just incredible, as it should be. And one of the most satisfying things in this game is watching an enemy's soul get blown clean out of their body as they go flying from the impact. And as you can see, when the barrel's in its normal form, it's looking a bit chode-esque. But when you actually fire it, it extends to full length, and you see that the barrel itself is actually reciprocating. Which, if you don't know what that means, it's a real thing in firearms that's used as a way to mitigate recoil. So maybe that can somehow, through, once again, random mechanical nonsense, be used to somewhat explain how the hunter can handle the recoil of this thing. But of course, that's gonna add some cool points, because look at that This weapon makes 0 sense. Not a lick of it. And it's amazing. S tier. Alright, let's tone things down a little bit. Let's go to something a bit magical. The Tonitrus. You ever wish Merlin could just slap someone with his magic orb? Well, this is about as close as it gets. It's a big, chunky mace that has a lot of inertia and motion in its animations, really giving that sense of weight. And it's also our first trick weapon that actually doesn't transform at all. All it does when you press the transform button is it imbues the weapon with Lightning of the Dark Beasts, which all that it does is augment the damage of the weapon to start doing bolt damage as well as physical damage. And the idea itself of a lightning mace is stupid cool. But I do think the execution is a little lacking. Especially since, even though it's not a proper transformation, it doesn't get a different moveset while the lightning is active. You do still get a transform attack, but that's it. So, as cool as it is, I do think that it could have been done better. Almost peaked, Tonitrus. Almost peaked. But you can go in B tier. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to take a trip to the nice forgotten Castle Cainhurst for some of our next weapons. And of course, first up on the list here at Cainhurst would be the Reiterpallasch. And now this is a sophisticated weapon, not brutish like all those workshop creations of the church. It's beautifully engraved and intricately designed as a rapier / thrusting sword. And of course, that's good and all, but what really makes this weapon special is that it turns into a blicky! Now, in its untransform mode, and even in its transform mode, there are some wonderful animations for this weapon that really emphasize how much your character is putting their whole body into each thrust to maximize as much power and range as possible out of this sword. And when this thing finally does transform, it's actually super similar to the rifle spear, and that the blade itself kind of moves up, out, and then down and locks into place beneath where the gun barrel is, kind of like how the rifle spear was more like a bayonet. This is still very much a fully fledged sword. And the reason why this is not properly a rapier is that it is still very much used for slashing when it's in its transformed mode. But hold on, look at this transformation attack, dude. Oh, the over-the-shoulder shot, come on! And while it is transformed, all your heavy attacks with this gun will shoot a bullet instead of doing a slashing attack. Which once again, just look at the pizzazz on that firing animation. And I would argue this is the best weapon in the entire game when it comes to the utility of having the ability to parry and still slash and attack with one weapon in one hand. Yes, of course the rifle spear can do the same thing, but it takes up both your hands, limiting what you can use in your left hand. But with this, you have the utility of both left and right-handed weapons while still having your left-hand weapon available. Plus, according to the description of the rifle spear, it's probably a ripoff of the Reiterpallasch anyway. Yeah, dude. The fencing rifle sword thing that looks fucking awesome, yeah, it's going into A tier. This is A tier. Ah, yes. Long, elegant, and precise. All things that me and the Evelyn share in common, at least according to your mom last night. This is without a doubt the most gorgeous gun in the game, supported by the description that states that each Evelyn pistol is blessed with its design. And outside of just having a great shooting sound, you also shoot it gangster style.
We turned it sideways, kill shot! That's a kill shot!
And just the amount of style you put into extending your whole arm, flicking your wrist with the pistol before shooting it as if it was an extension of yourself is so peak. And all the other alternate firing animations are incredible too. So as far as guns go, the design may be a little simple in terms of the wacky stuff we've seen, but the style goes a long way in carrying this thing. No gun in the game even comes close to this level of style. Evelyn, get up there. S tier. And you know what? Kanehurst is just on a roll. Let's keep the peak coming. Next up, we have the Chikage. Even just looking past the, of course, beautiful design of the sword and its sheath, this weapon fundamentally cannot not be badass. I mean, for Christ's sake, it's a katana that coats itself in blood when sheathed to both augment the damage dealt by the sword and change its moveset to focus more on powerful ranged swings. It's also the first weapon in the game to drain your health while it's transformed, giving you a unique trade-off to using its transformed mode instead of just always using it all the time. And outside of you being able to do some amazingly f***ing cool attacks both in the transformed and untransformed modes, it is also the only weapon in the game that when you press the transform button without doing a transform attack, it temporarily puts you in a stance. And while you're in that stance, if you either light or heavy attack, you'll do a different, essentially quick draw attack outwards, with the light being a pretty, decent sweep and the heavy being a very big sweep. Of course, the former being faster and the latter being more powerful as always. But that is just so f***ing cool! The charged transformed heavy attack also drains your health pretty quickly, but it is really worth it because the amount of damage that thing does, plus the range is crazy. Bonus cool points for this weapon being described as the personal weapons of Queen Annalise's bodyguards at Kanehurst. Pair this with the Evelyn, and you might just become dangerously based. Yeah. This is A tier. Now moving away from the weapons of the Vile Bloods, we have the Wheel of Logarius. And while this is also found in Kanehurst, it's pretty severely lacking in aura. I mean, it's a wheel. Granted, if this was a comedy tier list, this might be the best weapon in the game. It is quite literally just a massive wheel that you just wump things with. The animations on this are great though. They carry so much weight, and you can see your character basically struggling not to fly off their feet from the momentum of swinging this thing. And this weapon technically has 3 modes. It has its normal mode, its transformed mode, and then its empowered transformed mode. And while it's transformed, the vengeful blood and souls of the Vile Bloods empower the weapon to make it grind enemies down into a fleshy pink pulp! And then it can be empowered again while transformed, where it steals life from you, but for a limited time greatly boosts the arcane damage of the weapon. And I'm not gonna lie, the idea of a weapon that's possessed by the angry souls of those that have been slain by it is pretty base. Especially since it kind of becomes like a saw in a way when it's transformed, since the wheel starts spinning automatically. But it's also just that. It's a wheel, bro. The executioners were running around looking like if Pyramid Head converted to Christianity and smacking beasts with wheels. So, good for them. But as for the weapon named after their martyr, it's going in C tier. Taking a step back to the good old Church of Yarnum, we've got the Rosmarinus. And while on the surface it looks nearly identical to the Flamesprayer, it is, well, pretty much just the Flamesprayer. But instead of spraying flames, you're spraying holy Lysol across the streets. Now, of course, since it has essentially the same design as the Flamesprayer, it has the flippy up thing. It has to basically retain that same level of coolness. But admittedly, the holy Febreze is a bit less cool than coating beasts in flames. But, yeah, you know what? Sure. For the sake of fairness, go up to B tier. Alright, I think it's time for something crazy now. Next up, we've got the Beast Claw. Now this one is crazy cool, and actually has a surprising amount of depth to it. On the surface, it's a fast slashing fist type weapon made from the sharpened bones of a dark beast, which is already f***ing awesome. However, when it's transformed, it turns your other arm into a beast's arm? What the f***? That's weird and cool! And while it's transformed, all the attack chains become a lot more aggressive. The animations do a great job at portraying the more bestial nature of your attacks. Just flailing and striking with sheer brute force instead of skill. It's also the only weapon that gives you the constant bonus of continuously increasing your beasthood with every attack. But the insane thing about this weapon is that it has an even better mode that you wouldn't really know about if it wasn't for some experimentation and a certain NPC. If you use this weapon while having the Beast's Embrace rune active, you'll unlock an entirely new moveset for both the transformed and untransformed versions of the weapon. And both are crazy aggressive and double down on your hunter losing their humanity. No human could strike this fast with so much force. It even gives the weapon a transform attack, which it previously lacked. And as the cherry on top, for the leaping heavy attack, you literally just float in the air and crash down. Oh my god, it's so cool. This honestly feels like an Elden Ring boss remembrance weapon, which is a major compliment. It just feels so unique compared to the other weapons, and I do love it. But alas, I don't think this weapon crosses over in S tier, just barely. Just barely, but god, that is a strong A tier. Strong A tier. And now, moving on into the DLC's weapons, we have the Beast Cutter. And remember when I said that there was a weapon that did the whole whip transformation gimmick better? Yeah, here he is. This is the old grandpappy of the saw cleaver. Just like any senile old fart, he's mean, he's blunt, and he's inelegant. But you see, back in his day, there was no centrifugal force to empower your attacks. You just swung hard, which is perfectly demonstrated by this weapon's hulking moveset. As usual, the animations do great justice to showing the weight and heftiness of this essentially just massive stone. And the transformation animation is amazing. I mean, just look at that. The way the segments hang in the air for a moment is just Its transformed mode is naturally very similar to the Kane's, but with much longer range and way heavier sweeps. And let me just say, the sounds of this weapon are heavenly. So hey, he might be an old codger, but he's still got some aura to him, enough to grant him a pretty solid spot in A tier. Alright, so let me level with you. You like the cannon. That's good, who doesn't? But maybe you don't want to spend 12 Quicksilver bullets every time you want a big boom. Well, you could use the stake driver, but maybe you don't want to spend 8 business weeks to charge up your heavy attack. Maybe you want your big booms right now, and you want a lot of them. Well, friendo, my guys at the Powder Kegs got just the thing for you. We've got the Boom Hammer. 1 part meat tenderizer, 1 part blast furnace. The Boom Hammer packs a wallop and ain't afraid to burn your eyebrows off too. And believe me, that tenderizer means that you can beat the meat of others as much as you do your own. Untransformed has some of the heaviest sounding weapon sounds in the whole game. And as is the usual now, those animations carry so much weight to them. Look at that. Whomp. Whomp. Technically speaking, the transformation on this weapon is very similar to the Tonitrus, where it's a temporary infusion of another damage type, but this time it's with fire. The infusion always goes away after the next attack, but that's okay, because the transformation animation of violently cocking the hammer of the hammer back with your arm is peak. And naturally, the heavy and charged heavy attack here provide amazing booms. Plus, with the transform attack always making it to where it primes the hammer, you can do some pretty solid chains to keep the boom power up without having to stop. The Powder Kegs would be proud to see it come this far, and I'm just happy to see it because it's f***ing awesome. It's going in A tier. Alright, so let me just say, it was not fair that Jura got to have a minigun in the 19th century up on that tower. And even worse, after killing him, you couldn't even rip that gun off like Master Chief. Well, fret no more, for there is now a portable version of the Gatling Gun. And as odd as it is to see such an ornately designed Gatling Gun with all its wooden furniture, engravings, and a stock, it truly does not compare to the sheer confusion of this thing's existence. This thing shoots out casings. Every other gun in this game is flintlock in one way or another. And now here comes Jura's boys with a weapon that is literally centuries ahead of anything that was made for beast hunting. If that in and of itself wasn't peak enough for you, this is another left-handed weapon that allows you to walk while firing. meaning that you can mow down beasts with a hail of Quicksilver bullets and take a nice leisurely stroll at the same time. What more do you want me to say? It's a wrist-strapped Gatling gun. It's peak! S tier. Alright, let's get a little kooky. Next up we have the Amygdalan Arm. And yes, I know, the real thing is pronounced amygdala, but in the game it's said as amygdala, and since this is definitely not part of your brain, that's what I call it. But you know, for being a game about eldritch horrors beyond human comprehension, there sure aren't that many weapons revolving around that. But the ones that we do have are quite memorable. I mean, for Kos' sake, this is literally just the severed arm of a godlike being used as a massive club. And I would say it is tied with the wheel for most impactful animations and sound effects. Look at that thing. Whoa, whoa, whoa. But really, it's not much to write home about until it transforms, where the dormant appendage within the arm begins to writhe and strike out as if alive with its long scythe-like talon. This functionality makes it a 2-in-1 club and scythe. And if that's not the most awesome thing you've heard all week, you might already be a beast. I love the animations for the heavy attacks. It shows that the hunter has little control over this thing, and is being equally as cautious around it, holding it at arm's length while the appendage swings away. It's such a unique and interesting idea for a weapon, and I think its execution is spot on. It's awesome, and it's going in S tier. Now for this next one, I must admit, I was personally very disappointed in. I see that there's a rifle in the game. An honest to Kos rifle, not a shotgun this time. And as the name would imply, it pierces. I was hoping for it to be like the huge rifles you see some of the enemies carry, with its massive recoil and chunky sound effects. But when I get it, I'm rather confused because why does my rifle look like a f***ing folded umbrella? Jokes aside, I do actually like the very strange design of this gun. It looks like it should almost be what the rifle spear was, a primary that also has the ability to shoot. Plus, I guess an extra little neat bonus is that you can kinda see that when you're shooting out the bullet itself has a neat little spiral projectile. So that's interesting. The sound effect is fine, it's not quite as punchy as the aforementioned rifles of the enemies, and it shares its animations with Ludwig's rifle, so not too shabby. It's interesting, it has a unique function from all the other weapons, and it kind of just stands out as somewhat of an oddball, but still pretty neat. Going in B tier. Now we've got a fan favorite coming up. We've got the Beasthunter Saif, or Saif? Saif? I have no idea. If the Beast Cutter was the grandpappy to the Saw Cleaver, I suppose the Saif is just the dad. I mean, look at it. It bears a really close resemblance to the Cleaver, just not being serrated and much more a curved blade. And this weapon has some of the most aggressive and agile moves of any of the weapons, which allows for constant aggression, as befitting of a hunter. I mean, look at the launch you do on that light attack and the short attack, my god! It's simple and elegant like the weapons it would go on to inspire, and in my opinion, it's just a staple for really solid, cool weapons all around. And because of that, it'll be the anchor point of B tier. A solid, proud B if ever there was one. Okay, now let's get batshit insane. We've got the Whirligig Saw. And what do you mean that I have this long ass mace that then plugs into this big off buzzsaw that I can now swing like a massive motorized lollipop of death and destruction? The concept alone carries this weapon to top tier, and the execution is flawless. Weighty animations, punchy sound effects, amazing moveset, and you can even go into lawnmower mode to cut all that pesky Yarnum grass away. I really don't even have that much more to say about this weapon. It's effortlessly peak. S tier. Alright, for this next one, we gotta require a little bit of background information. So for those of you who are unaware, From Software likes to slip in a certain weapon into almost all of their games after they released Kingsfield, where it was first introduced. It's always a really cool weapon, always a great sword imbued with the power of Moonlight, firing beams and waves of ethereal energy as it cleaves through foes. But something about Bloodborne's version just nails the concept in a way I don't think many other FromSoft games do. This is the Holy Moonlight Sword. And the idea that this was the holy weapon discovered deep in the Eldritch Labyrinths by possibly the greatest hunter of all time is unbelievably peak. You can see where the Kirkhammer and the Holy Blade drew inspiration from, but both were pale imitations of the true sword. This one is much more a great sword than the long swords of the Church's copies. And while the transformation of this weapon is also just smaller sword turned into bigger sword, it's so much more peak than the puny Holy Blade. While in its beautiful transformed state, it gains much more range and imbues the weapon with arcane damage. And I mean, look at it, you can just stare into it. Wow. It'll also fire off waves of light with every heavy attack. That's right, every one of them. Normal, running, charged, backstep, leaping, they all fire an awesome looking wave of light. And since you have to two-hand it, using the button you would normally use for your left-handed weapon will now charge the sword up to unleash a devastating thrust beam that's... I can bring a tear to a man's eye. Add on to all of this that this boss's introduction is one of the best bosses FromSoft has ever made, period, and you have your answer right there. You knew it, I knew it, we all knew it. S tier. Okay. Let's tone it down a bit. That was a little bit too based of a weapon, so let's take a look at something a little bit lame. This is the Church Pick. It's essentially a short stabbing sword that turns into a large pickaxe, which is pretty neat. And it has some really cool and aggressive attacks and animations as well, which you wouldn't really think for this kind of weapon. You'd kind of think it would more focus on, distance and range, but no, this is a pretty get up in your face and f shit up kind of weapon. And it's a neat concept for sure. After all, we all know that the children yearn for the mines. But at the end of the day, this is like the go-go gadget weapon versus the lawnmower from hell. So, I mean, really, come on. It's C tier. Okay, we need to talk about this. This is the Fist of Gratia, and it's a rock with some finger holes carved into it to use it as brass knuckles. Okay. It doesn't do great damage, and it can't parry either. Its only purpose is to heavily stagger enemies. And you may or may not know, but this game has a hyper armor system, and the only real purpose of this weapon is as a way to interrupt and break hyper armor on larger enemies. Or you could just parry them with a gun and get a visceral attack. I will give it bonus points. It has alternate attacks unlike the torch, but that does not save it. I mean, it's a rock, guys. It's a f***ing rock. It's going in D tier. Alright, let's get back on track with another awesome weapon that is positively frustrating to find. The Church Cannon. This is another cannon, obviously, albeit smaller, and is actually from the church instead of the powder kegs. My favorite heretics. Your arm goes straight into the cannon this time, actually slotting into it instead of just being on top, which is awesome. And it shares the same design motifs with the other church-made firearms, including the wheel that seemingly, once again, does nothing, except it does do something, because when you fire it, the wheel spins! Hooray for random mechanical nonsense! Which, maybe that implies that there's some automated way of loading this thing, but I have no idea. It's not quite as absolutely Chad as just strapping a raw artillery piece to your arm and calling it a day, but it is still really f***ing awesome. So as the cannon's little brother, it's gonna be just below at A tier. Next up is the Loch Shield, and this is just another shield. But hey, at least it looks really cool compared to the 2x4s strapped together. And it's a shield that's imbued with magic, which means that it is good at blocking any kind of non-physical damage. So the idea of this kind of almost mirror-looking shield, being able to stop eldritch powers in their path from hurting you is admittedly a lot cooler than the normal shield, but it still doesn't have any unique abilities. Nothing crazy about it. It's still just a shield at the end of the day and functions exactly like the other one. So it'll be a little bit higher. It'll go C tier, but just barely. All right. Now this is how you do a split blade weapon. This is the Rakuyo. And just like the Blade of Mercy, it's a super simple concept with a fantastically flashy execution. The animations on this thing, transformed and untransformed, are awesome. I really like the fully charged, untransformed heavy attack, where you just thrust that shit. The transform mode has many cool features in it, such as the fastest heavy attack in the game that also combos forever, and a spin to win that can combo. So it has that up on the axe. However, I'm sure I'm not the only one who was disappointed to find out that this weapon inherited none of Lady Maria's blood flame attacks, which is so upsetting. Especially since if you look at the blade of this weapon and compare it to the Chikage, they look very similar. And of course in the weapon's description and in Lady Maria's lore, it talks about how she looks down on blood magic, but that didn't stop her from using it during her boss fight, so come on, let us have some in the weapon. It would have been maybe the coolest weapon in the entire game if we could have channeled the powers that Maria did. But we got what we got, which is still a really cool, really agile, very fun weapon. So it'll go in B tier. Ooh, look at this wibbly wobbly ass sword. This is Simon's Bowblade, and it has some really smooth and flowy animations. I mean, look at this thing. It looks like a Vorpal blade. It's kind of crazy. And I mean, as the name would imply, it's a sword that turns into a bow on the fly, and that is just too damn cool, man. I have no idea where the arrow comes from, but whatever, dude. We have man-portable Gatling guns in the 19th century. It was the God Squids or something, I don't know. Now, having a weapon that so drastically changes its function when it transforms is something not really seen in this game. Sure, there's been melee weapons that have guns in them, but this just fully turns into a ranged weapon. And it still allows you to do a variety of different dodge, backstep, and rolling attacks, light and heavy, giving you a lot of flexibility in how you want to fight stuff at range. We don't talk about the L2 attack though. All in all, this thing is crazy unique from the rest of the bunch, and it's just awesome, man. So get into S tier. Get into S tier, Bowblade. Do it now. Come on, hurry up, come on. All right, let's get a little evil. We got the Bloodletter next, and first of all, look at this. This looks evil. I'm talking downright despicable. Like completely and utterly villainous. And its function matches its style. Outside of the unique look, the untransformed mode really isn't anything to write home about, but this is a weapon that is hard carried by its transform, because there is nothing else really like it. And no, the Chikage is only kind of like it. Although side note, I will say I do like in the light attack combo in its untransformed mode, the spikes at the top of the mace, you kind of twist them in just to add that little bit more brutality to the weapon. But transforming this thing makes you, oh god, man, what the f? Yeah, you stab yourself right in the gut, and it uses your blood to turn into the most wicked morning star you have ever seen. And if that's not metal as f, I don't know what is. It's so disturbing and gross and so cool. It's a perfectly deranged weapon to be used by a perfectly deranged hunter. Look at that light attack combo. After you do that final hit, you just keep infinitely chaining the slam down and just boom, 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 boom. It is so unhinged. Plus, the charged heavy makes it grow even more and explode. Gross and absolutely radical. The transform attack is diabolical on this thing too. Facing your back towards your enemies so that you can stab yourself through and hit them as well? Like, what the f, man? No doubt in my mind, this thing is delightfully psychotic. S tier. And speaking of psychotic, we have the Kos Parasite. And, what? Where is it? I have it equipped and yet I can't use it. I can't even see it. Is my game bugged? Maybe if I eat my vegetables, I could figure this out. And, oh God, what the f happened to me? They always said you are what you eat, but I didn't think that it meant I would become a f***ing cauliflower. Jokes aside, this is the only weapon in the game that will just not work at all if you aren't using a specific rune. Sure, the Beast Claw was buffed by a rune, but not locked behind one. I guess you just gotta be a cauliflower goop monster to channel the f***ed up power of Kos, it would seem. This isn't even a conventional weapon. It's a parasite found infesting the dead body of a god that is just actively mutating your body in different lethal ways. Wicked. Alongside being so unique on the surface, it comes with a whole host of truly unique attacks. You got lots of whip-like light and heavy attacks. You've got a super weird backstep light attack where you just vomit some goop up. You've got this amazing forward lunge attack where you just kind of float and headbutt them with your broccoli face. And it only gets stranger as it transforms. Now the leap attack is replaced by a f***ing tentacle coming out of your head to slam the ground. And both hands are now comprised of many tentacles to attack with. And the L2 forces your character to squeeze a lethal eldritch fart out of their body in an AoE. This whole weapon is weird as hell. It's absolutely unhinged. And I love it. A tier. Bias. Oh, no. I've never heard of it. I know peak when I see it, and that's that. Next up, we've got the Burial Blade. Gehrman's very own trick weapon, and one of the first trick weapons to ever exist. Forged from a material believed to have fallen from the heavens, it sings through the air as it rends beast and hunter alike. A farewell to their lives once lived. Hey, did I mention that I like this weapon? It starts as a curved sword with lots of super impactful slashing, and listen to some of those sounds. Shing! Shing! It's amazing. But then, of course, when you transform it, it turns into a motherfucking scythe! And this scythe has a moveset with everything. It's got quick slashes, it's got long slashes, attacks to pull enemies in, attacks to slam enemies down, one's for single target, one's for crowds. It is so versatile. And just listen to the sound of the transform and the heavy attacks, and the smoothness of the transformation itself. And look at this mind-bending attack. How the f*** are they doing that? It's so cool! This is still, to this day, the best scythe FromSoft has ever made. And maybe even one of the best scythes ever made in a video game. I love this thing with all my heart. Get up there! S tier! And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. The objective style and badassery of every weapon in the best game to ever exist. And now that you know what's based and what's not, go out there and play Bloodborne. Seriously, you won't regret it. And remember, if you don't have a PS4, don't sweat it. It's no problem at all. And, as always, I'll see you hunters in the streets of Yharnam. Also, go watch my Signalis video. If you don't know what Signalis is, it's a really cool survival horror game with a crazy plot, crazy story, and great characters. And if you haven't watched my video, it's a super in-depth breakdown of the Lovecraftian elements. If you like Bloodborne, you might like the Lovecraftian elements of that game. It's awesome. Go check it out. All right. Now goodbye.